Hi, Maddie. Love that you are joining me today. Again, Happy New Year. We're now on our second weekend, January, which is crazy. And love for you to come on here and share more about Mount and how you guys have not rebranded, but kind of, pivoted. I think every business pivots in their journey. And it's been great to kind of see how you've done it in real time by sharing your journey with us on social media, and it feels like I'm there with you when you do these retreats. I'm not, because I get jealous that I see how amazing these houses are and what you're actually doing. So that's why I'm trying to create more content. So maybe I'll get invited because I'll have my own following that you want me on there. So, but I really would love just for you to kind of share, where you guys are at right now. What are your goals for 2025? What are you taking on that you learned in 2024, bring it into 2025, and maybe something along the lines of, what if someone does, what's something that people don't know about Mount that is maybe a misconception, or they just don't know, and you want to, kind of let them know, like, this is who you guys are, what you guys do. That way in 2025, everyone's on the same wave with you, and can kind of follow the journey a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me, first and foremost. Alex and I have been good friends for years, and it's been cool to see Can Monkey grow. I'm the founder and CEO of Mount. And, depending on when you've discovered me and Mount, you probably think we do a lot of different things, which is what Alex was talking about. I put a post on LinkedIn today, setting the record straight. As a founder, I like to move really fast and listen to our customers, obsessively, actually, at this point. And what we've always done is worked with the relationship between property managers, hosts, and local businesses to really facilitate better experiences so that the end consumer for everyone in our space in travel, it's the traveler, it's the guest. And so that's what we've been obsessed with, is how do we make that experience the best it possibly can be and take the effort off of the property manager and host, because you guys have your own business to run. You don't need to also think about how to work with local businesses and that type of stuff. So that's what we've been up to. I'd say 2025 for us is just going to be the year of focus and growth, which sometimes don't go hand in hand, but for us, they hopefully will. And really what that means is, in the past, I went for hyper growth. We are VC backed. And so that comes with connotations and learnings. And, we grew, I want to say it was 300 markets in 8 months. And then watch it all came crumbling down because that was way too fast and we lost control of supply and it just wasn't a great story for us. So this year, we're really choosing the businesses we work with. We call them hidden gems. We're very intentional about building those relationships first, then connecting them into the property managers and hosts so that they know they're offering really good supply, and making it a win-win for everyone. And then our whole entire go-to-market strategy is a zero ad, zero marketing spend, because it's all organic growth on social media. So that's been a fun side of the business to build as well.
You're right. You really haven't really changed in that aspect of, putting the guest first, because when I first met with you is the locks and how it was really giving the guest a great experience and helping the host also unlock their property to its full potential. So you're really not really pivoting too much from that same concept, maybe just a little bit more how you're reaching maybe more guests this way of what you're doing. And in these hidden gems, are these things that local people are already telling you? Is it where you do your research and development, where you get to go and check it out yourself? Is it a combination of both those? I'm sure that's more of the fun spot now of the
Yeah,
job where you get to
definitely
test all that
a
out.
little of both. We talk a lot to the business owners. So every business we work with now, I will personally interview, which I know is not the most scalable strategy, but as of right now, it's working. So I will personally interview each local business owner to find out if they fit our core ethos, which is, are you sustainable? Are you responsible? And are you ethical in your business practices? And that means a lot of things, but really what we're not going to be promoting is something where a business set up because they know tourists go to that destination and they're going to take you on a tour and cram you with 50 to 100 people and maybe show you things and maybe not. Like, that's not what we're in the business for. So the way we call them like off the beaten path hidden gems, is either from talking to locals, which in some cases actually works well because your property manager or host is typically a local, some cases not so much, but you can find someone in the company that is. You talk to your local cab driver, your local bartender. They know all the great stuff. And we've created a platform that crowdsources all of that information so that I don't have to do it just one person. It's our traveler facing app, actually. So it acts as like it takes nominations in from the different people finding this stuff. They tell us why they think it should be a hidden gem. It goes through that vetting process I just described. And then from there, once it's completely vetted, we'll bring them on into the distribution channel we have for them, which is through short-term rental properties.
So for an aspect, if I'm just like a regular consumer and I'm going to Miami and I wanted to know what's some good spots in the area that I wouldn't necessarily find on Yelp, I would download your Mount app and then I would type in the city that I'm going to, and then this is where you give ideas on or suggestions or whatever. Okay, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
exactly. Or you're staying at an short-term rental Airbnb property that works with us also. It's just when we were in 2024, we only had the first channel through Airbnb hosts.
Mhm.
And if you weren't staying at one of those properties, like we didn't work with everyone, so you just couldn't find the hidden gems. So the app just makes it available to everyone.
Awesome. So you're still in the vacation rental space, obviously, because that's where people are using to travel to different locations. But to your point, you're getting these nomads that are traveling around the world that are just really into the experience part of life. And so they might just be out and about using different Airbnbs or hostels, wherever it is. This is great for them as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, when you look at the travel landscape of consumer apps, it's so competitive and so cluttered that really what sets Mount apart is us being in the short-term rental industry because we're able to distribute all these local businesses through the short-term rental channel and really reach guests that way too. So they feed each other. Where it's like, if you reach a guest through the short-term rental channel, they'll feed back into our app. But if you reach a traveler through our app, they'll actually probably feed back into the short-term rental channel. So we're able to really just mass market Mount and then feed them into whatever channel is necessary for the business.
And then a lot of these people who are finding Mount are probably from your viral TikToks that are going out and these social media. But at the same time, if I'm a property manager and I know about Mount and I'm partnered with you, wouldn't I be giving it to my guests ahead of time?
Exactly. Yep. So then that guest is now kind of in the Mount ecosystem because they're trying and finding the hidden gems. And then the next time they travel, they're like, oh, what was that app called? I'll download it.
And then do you, in that same aspect, give suggestions to these guests to different property managers, or is that awesome?
We do. So you'll see there's a section in the app that has like all these discounts. And so if you're a property manager that works with us and you want to push more like direct bookings, you can give us like a 5 to 10% discount code for that property or company and we'll put it in the app for you.
That's super smart. So you're like all encompassing. You're like, you can help property managers get more bookings. You can help their guests have more better experiences, which all lead to 5-star reviews. So you're actually like a best friend to these property managers in some aspect to helping their guests have other ideas and other activities to do while they're at their property and enjoying the inner workings of their property, but also helping them with the outside of the experience
Hmm.
of the Airbnb as well.
Yeah, exactly. And then you layer the social media element on top of that, and we're reaching millions of travelers every month through that social media top of funnel. And so I think a property manager or host is always asking themselves the question, do I spend my own marketing dollars to try and rival Airbnb where they're spending billions of dollars every month on
Right.
marketing? There's a simple answer to that question. It's like, no, I can't compete with that. But Mount can because we've cracked the organic virality of social media. And so by being a partner of Mount, you're now able to combat and like fight against the OTAs, the Airbnbs of the world. And so, you know, ask me end of this year where I want to be in 2026, I would say, we'd be rivaling Airbnb and Airbnb would be scared.
That's awesome. Well, that's a great goal to have. And I mean, at the rate that you're going right now, I mean, who knows? Because you are growing more and more. I mean, every week that goes on with your posts and the mission of Mount. I was going to say something else. I'm having a brain fart right now. When you are, oh, shoot, what was I going to say? It was a good one too. Um, had a brain fart. I had another idea based off what you were just saying with the the property managers. Oh, here it is. Sorry. So when you were talking about before of how in 8 months you guys grew to 300 markets, but now you're being more methodical on that growth. Do you have just like ideas of certain markets that you're going to be targeting? Okay, so and then you probably did some research on what are these top markets that you want because if you're like you said vetting it all out, it's not the best scalable approach, but at least you're going to get so much data from that that maybe you can learn when you go. So are you looking at like top five short-term rental markets? Are you looking at what are you looking at to grow and like how many markets are you in right now and where would you like to end the year in that aspect? Obviously, 8 months, 300 was way too much, but in this aspect now, where you're going, like, what's your game plan?
Yeah, we're taking a slightly smaller approach to start, but then using that to then hyperscale.
Okay,
So like New Orleans is a great example. That's one of our initial markets. Actually happened because we did a giveaway in 2024 that we gave away Taylor Swift tickets in New Orleans. And so that actually just helped us introduce us to the market. We met pretty much every local business. And then as it turns out, New Orleans is really interesting because I think it's within a 16 uh, block radius. They have 300 local businesses
oh wow,
because there's so much tourism going on in New Orleans, especially when you combine bachelor and bachelorette parties and just
true.
like everything that's happening, very party atmosphere. So that one was kind of growing itself for us just because all of these local businesses have to compete with each other and they have the same exact problems a property manager does, where it's like, okay, I'll list on Airbnb, I'll list on VRBO. For them, there's our like Viator and Get Your Guide. And you pay a hefty commission to do that because that's now your marketing channel. But it's like, how do I drive direct bookings? No one knows the answer to that. So we've been really helping with that. And I think too, as a property manager or host, if you've implemented Viator, because a lot of people do, with the promise you'll get that 8% commission, you probably have seen $0 from that. Just because tracking the booking all the way through attribution is incredibly challenging. So there's just a lot of issues with it. So we kind of circumvent that whole thing. But sorry, I went on a weird tangent. Anyways, New Orleans is like one of our first markets. We're very active in a lot of the Florida markets just because that was big for short-term rentals, but also local businesses. So it's when there's a really good merriment of both businesses and property managers, you'll find us there.
And then I'm sure that, like, when you're in New Orleans and you're afterwards, showing all these videos of your excursions, I'm sure other businesses in that area will see it. Then are they reaching out to you and saying, "Hey, how do I get into your next one?" And yeah.
Exactly. And so the way the model works is we really only represent about 8 businesses every month.
Hmm.
And, the business can sign on for a longer month contract. But it allows the market to really bid itself up and because there's so much scarcity. And so you could go from paying $500 a month as a local business up to like 5,000 a month, just given that the advertising channel is quite strong there. And we've built it up. And then the other thing we do on the social media side is we own the handles in these markets for things to do in New Orleans, for example. We call it Hidden Gems NOLA, I think. And that whole Instagram channel is now also content driven, highlighting these businesses and capturing eyeballs that way as well. So it's kind of just all market, working together from all fronts, which is awesome.
So you're not, so a property manager could be a business, but so is a restaurant as a business, and those are both essentially your clients. So you have a couple clients. You have the
Yeah, it could
hosts.
be hosts, restaurants, like things to do. So like tours and activity companies.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
wow.
think of who else we work with. Um, Coffee shops, bars. Yeah, all pretty much anyone that's running some type of local business in the market. Yeah.
And then how would they know that it came from you? For example, like if I had the Mount app and then I found that this is a hidden gem bar that you recommend in New Orleans, how does that bar know that I'm coming from Mount?
We that's our software. So we track
Okay.
every channel and we can show you attribution from is it coming from a short-term rental property? Is it coming from our social media conglomerate? Is it coming from the app? We'll kind of break that all down for you. But we call it your book direct strategy and like your book
Okay.
direct channel, basically.
Are you giving like a discount for that restaurant? Like, is there a benefit that I would go to that restaurant in New Orleans? Okay, and that would be how they would also know that it's coming from you because I'm using some kind of code that came from Mount.
Exactly. Yeah,
Got
so
it.
the
That's
app has a
smart.
lot of the codes. The short-term rental properties will have the codes. Very dependent on the local business, though. Some people don't really like to give discounts, and I'm
True.
also of the belief that like, yeah, show me the discount, I'm gonna go, but then will I remember to use it? That's another story.
True. That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, the fact is you're getting the eyes on these, these small businesses that probably would never get these eyes on them from an audience that didn't even know that place exists. So I think a lot of businesses have the same problem that people don't know that their service, exists. And so you're definitely helping get those eyes on those, businesses in those specific markets that you're drawing attention to, and that's huge. So you said earlier, 8 in each market is what you're working at. Is that like 8 restaurants or just 8 businesses total? Like it could be like a coffee shop was one, a restaurant is two, and then or you're having like 3 restaurants, 3 coffee shops, or really just sticking to one of each category.
We like to have a good mix, so we definitely don't like to go with like competing businesses for sure.
Right.
And then honestly, it just depends like, who we vetted so far, who's interested, what is the mix of the 8 businesses. And then yeah, pretty much any property manager or host that then wants to offer those 8 businesses to their guests would work with us, turn that channel on, and get a piece of that revenue too.
So if that's awesome. And so if someone's hearing this right now and they want to start, getting into this journey with you, what's the next steps? Going to Mount on the Apple Store or Google Play? How do they find Mount? How do they download it? And what's the next steps for them to start checking out their uncovered gems or maybe contributing to letting you know some hidden gems in their area that maybe you like? What's the next like process
Yeah,
on
if
that step?
you want to download the app, it's called Mount Travelers. So that's how you would nominate yourself if you're a business or a property management company. You'd get in our system that way. If you go to our website, which has the old URL, it's rentmount.com. Have not changed that yet. But yeah, you can sign up there as a host or a local business as well, and get in the system that way. And then I would say, honestly, like best way, if you're like 100% this is my thing, I want to get in front of Maddie, follow me on LinkedIn, like message me on LinkedIn, because as Alex knows, that's basically where I live these days.
I'm the same way. It's true, but that's awesome. That's great information. I think that if someone was looking to see how they can get into that, it's pretty simple to follow those steps. Um, and then so we're gonna be finishing pretty soon, but what are the in your experience right now of going to different cities and doing this, what has been, or in other countries too, I think you went out of the country, what has been like the coolest hidden gem that you found that like if someone said, like what was like not your top, but like maybe your top, I don't know if you could pick one, but like what is
Yes.
like one that you're like, you know what, this is like the most unexpected hidden gem that if you're ever in this area, you gotta check this one out.
Oh man, that's a really good question. I feel like I should have better answers because I do get asked this a lot. But uh, I'll use a relevant one where I am now because I discover them every day. I mean, I use the app a lot. I like to see what people are doing. But I'm in Palm Springs, California right now, and I was trying to find like really good Mexican food because I live in New York normally, and like the Mexican food there is just not it. So I was like, okay, every day I'm here basically eating Mexican food. And I found this place called Tacos de Val, and it had been recommended by someone in the community through the app. And I was like, okay, I'll go. Like the picture looked like very hole in the wall. I'm like right up my alley. And then when someone submits a nomination too, they tell you from their perspective why they thought it was amazing. And they said the owner, Sammy, is trying to like become like a top salsa or something in the industry. I was like, all right. So they're like, you have to try salsa. So we go, there's 3 tables, very much like made to order. We got steak tacos and I got a Cali burrito. And Sammy, turns out owner and chef, came out, talked to us, like so cool. The salsa, probably the best salsa I've ever had in my entire life. It was so amazing. And just like, I would have never found that place, nor would I have ever stopped in just given the way the outside looked. Like there were bars on the door. But I'm like, yeah, it was great. Possibly one of the better meals I've ever had, actually.
See, and that's what's so amazing about this is that, it's helping a restaurant owner, chef get more eyes on his business. That is actually great. And those are usually some of the best restaurants are those hole in the walls that like
Right?
if someone didn't take your hand and actually walk you in, you probably would never experienced it. And then you
Hmm.
turn into that person where you're walking in with someone else holding their hand and say you gotta try. So it's really cool that even if you're not a local, you almost get that same experience as being a local and sharing that experience with your friends in these new
Yeah.
environments that you're going to. So
Well,
it's really
imagine
cool.
being like the property manager or host that gave that recommendation
Right.
and having your guests be like, "Oh my God, where did they come up with that? Like that is so local." And I just like it's just elevated my experience and my stay that much better.
No, 1,000%, and that's a great one. Obviously, you're there right now, so yeah, it's fresh in your mind. That's great, and I love that. That's just one example of how you're helping these businesses out, and it's
Yeah.
really
Oh,
cool
I have
how.
another quick one for you, Alex.
Okay, do
I
it,
was
do it.
in San Diego end of last year for a conference, and we went on a foodie tour, which I had actually never done before. And now I'm like, why have I never gone on a food tour before? But they took us into like the Little Italy area of San Diego. We had a tour guide. She was incredible. And she took us to like 5 different restaurants. And I think I paid like $100 for this tour per
Wow.
person. But the amount of food and alcohol that we had on this tour for like 2 hours. And it was the stories, like the fun memories made. We got really good content too. But I just was like, wow, I'm going to do a food tour wherever I go now and it was a female owned business too. I was like, yes, we'll support.
Put this together? Is that like an actual like a company that will
Yeah,
partner with
food
these
tour
companies?
companies. Yeah,
So they
this was
partner with.
called So Diego.
Oh, interesting.
They run a few food tours in San Diego in like different areas. And I mean, honestly, it's a fascinating business model because the way it works is like you go talk to the restaurant. You're like, hey, I'm going to be bringing in people. I'll let you know when I have a tour booked. You don't spend any money until you have a tour booked. And then you have the overhead because you're the one paying for the food, but the price of the ticket, like margin wise, covers it. So yeah, people stand them up all over the place.
That's smart. That actually is a really good. You know, I've never even heard of a food tour like that until I saw your post.
Yeah.
I've heard of like bar hopping and like trying different like bar drinks, but never heard
Yeah.
of like eating multiple foods at different restaurants in the same day. I don't think a lot of people do that. You go to one place and just try it, and
Yeah,
that's it. So that's
exactly.
really cool to try a variety.
They give you small portions too, so you're not like overly full, which is good. I mean, you are full by the end, but
Yeah. Well, I appreciate everything that you had just shared with us and having and coming on and talking about Mount and where you guys are at right now and where you guys are going. And I feel like this will help a lot of people who maybe are looking to get more to their, their host or their guest as a host, or just in general, maybe they're traveling to a location, maybe San Diego, maybe Palm Springs, and want to check out one of the recommendations that you just offered. So this is great that you're able to provide this information for us, and then you have it out there on Mount. Again, what was your LinkedIn that you can tell everyone if they're looking to reach out to you? Is
I think my LinkedIn is under Madison Rifkin.
awesome. And then your handles on Instagram, you said one was the Hidden Gems.
Oh, Hidden Gems NOLA, if you want to check that one out. We have Hidden Gems Fred too, but mostly it's Rent Mount pretty much everywhere on social media.
Awesome. Well, Maddie, thank you again for coming on and sharing your wisdom, and looking forward to continue seeing the growth of Mount in 2025.
Absolutely. Thanks, Alex.
Absolutely.